Today's topic is Reading Disability in Literature from the Cambridge Companion to Disability Studies, edited by Clare Barker and Stuart Murray. Reading Disability in Literature. The intersection of disability studies and literary criticism has held to a transformative way of understanding text. Literature is not merely a mirror reflecting societal values, but an active participant in shaping how disability is perceived, discussed, and integrated into cultural consciousness. The introduction to the Cambridge Companion to Disability Studies lays the groundwork for this interdisciplinary engagement. It explores how reading disability in literature challenges conventional interpretive frameworks and offers new ways to understand identity, embodiment, and narrative. Disability and literary studies. Disability studies has emerged as a powerful interdisciplinary field that challenges dominant narratives about normalcy, productivity, and personhood. In literature, disability has often been relegated to the margins, treated as a metaphor for moral or emotional deficiencies rather than a lived experience. However, a recent scholarship positions disability as central to how literature constructs meaning. Barker and Murray emphasize that the aim is not merely to count representations but to critically analyze how disability functions within texts. By foregrounding disability, scholars explore how literary works either reinforce normative assumptions or disrupt them. This shift is part of a broader movement that understands disability not as a biological flaw but as a cultural, social, and political construct. Disability in literature provides a lens for examining deeper social anxieties and cultural values. Stories about disabled characters often reveal underlying ideologies about the body, productivity, independence, and moral worth. Barker and Murray argue that such narratives influence how readers think about and interact with disability in real life. Studying disability in literature also expands our understanding of human variation. It reveals the limitations of narratives built solely around able bodied, neurotypical experiences. Thus, literary texts become powerful space for either perpetuating stigma or promoting inclusivity. Historically, literary texts have used disability symbolically. A blind character, for instance, might see more clearly than others, representing spiritual insight rather than physical limitation. Such metaphorical uses often reduce disability to a narrative device rather than treating it as a part of a character's lived experience. In recent decades, however, there has been a significant shift. Contemporary literature increasingly portrays disability as an embodied reality influenced by social and political contexts. Characters are shown as complex individuals whose disabilities shape but do not wholly redefine their experiences. This shift also corresponds to changes in social attitudes, legal frameworks, and advocacy movements. Models of disability. Two dominant frameworks shape how disability is understood: the medical model and the social model. The medical model treats disability as a personal tragedy or a medical issue that must be fixed or cured. Literature shaped by this model often portrays disabled characters as objects of pity or as inspirational figures who overcome their impairments. In contrast, the social model sees disability as a product of environmental barriers, social exclusion, and cultural attitudes. Literature that reflects this model highlights systematic injustice and promotes a more empowering view of disability. Barker and Murray underscore the importance of recognizing these models in literary analysis. Identifying which model a text leans on can help reveal its ideological underpinnings and the kind of message it sends to readers. A foundational idea in disability literary studies is narrative prosthesis, a term coined by David Mitchell and Sharon Sinter. It refers to the tendency of literature to use disability as a symbolic or structural device. According to this theory, disability is often employed to enhance a plot, symbolize moral conflict, or provoke emotional reactions. For example, a character may be disabled to justify their isolation or to mark them as other. While this may serve the narrative, it often comes at the cost of realistic or respectful representation. Such uses can perpetuate stereotypes and reduce disabled characters to mere tools for the development of able-bodied protagonists. The authors caution against this instrumentalization of disability and advocate for more nuanced portrayals that treat disabled characters as fully human and complex. Reading against the grain. A critical method recommended by disability scholars is reading against the grain. This means resisting surface level interpretations and instead of questioning how and why disability appears in a text. Readers are encouraged to ask who speaks for the disabled character. Is a character given agency or merely a symbolic role? Does the narrative promote inclusion or reinforce exclusion? By integrating these aspects, scholars can expose the ways literature constructs or deconstructs normative assumptions about ability and identify. Key literary examples. Numerous literary works provide rich material for disability analysis. Toni Morrison's novels such as Beloved and Sula explore disability within the intersections of race, gender, and trauma. Morrison's characters experience bodily difference not as a singular identity but as part of a broader socio-historical condition. Mark Haddon's The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is often cited for its portrayal of a neurodivergent protagonist. The novel challenges readers to experience the world from a non-neurotypical perspective, though it has also sparked debates about representation and authorship. Charlotte Perkins Gilman's The Yellow Wallpaper is frequently analyzed through the lens of psychiatric disability. The protagonist's descent into madness critiques medical authority and patriarchal control, highlighting how disability can be socially induced. These texts demonstrate how disability can be used to critique oppressive system or alternatively how it can be misinterpreted if not handled with care and authenticity. Crip Theory. Barker and Murray also reference Crip Theory, a critical framework that aligns with queer theory in its challenge to norms and binaries. Crip Theory embraces non-normative and celebrates bodies and minds that deviate from social expectations. Rather than viewing disability as something to be corrected or overcome, Crip Theory reclaims it as a site of potential, resistance, and creativity. Literature informed by this perspective resists closure, uncertainty, favoring ambiguity and multiplicity. Crip theory invites readers to see disability as a source of alternative knowledge and as a challenge to cultural rather than viewing disability as something to be corrected or overcome. Crip theory reclaims it as a site of potential, resistance, and creativity. Literature informed by this perspective resistant closure and certainty, favoring ambiguity and multiplicity. Crip theory invites readers to see disability as a source of alternative knowledge and as a challenge to cultural norms about success, independence, and perfection. The study of disability in literature is not merely an academic exercise, it has ethical implications. Literature shapes how societies understand and respond to difference. As Barker and Murray note, it is essential to approach these texts with critical sensitivity. Educators, writers, and scholars must consider how literary choices impact real world attitudes towards disability. This means promoting stories that reflect disabled lives authentically and ensuring that disabled voices are heard in literary production and criticism. Thank you.